So today, really, I sort of wanted to really, talk to you about how the use of immersive spatial audio and binaural sound and object-based audio techniques have sort of helped us, at BAM Sound and in various other areas, continue work and collaborate with our clients both locally and globally during the current 2020, COVID-19 crisis. In this talk, I'll be discussing the benefits of using and mixing with binaural, spatial and object-based audio and the pipelines that enable us to continue and to collaborate with my sound team as we now had to work from remote studios, and also how we connected to our clients for reviewing and dealing with delays, and hold-ups and that kind of thing. So just quickly to quickly explain that some of this presentation will feature at times spatial 3D binaural audio. So I'm sure most of you are, but if you're not, it's preferable to try and listen to some of the audio I play back with headphones, because that will give you the best experience. But it's not essential. You're still going to have, I hope, an enjoyable and interesting presentation. So to start with, I'm just going to play you a little teaser reel that we often show to clients to explain how immersive and spatial binaural audio can really transform and excite an experience. These snippets are sort of taken from some of our sound and visual work that we've done for Formula One, Toyota, sort of Wimbledon, England Tennis Club, Burberry and some other bits and bobs. But the reason we tend to show this as opposed to what you might call a classic reel is because we feel sound is about a feeling. It's hypersensory and it's not always about specifics or what we see. It's often led by emotional senses, a vibe, if you will, because it's so often led by visuals that if you remove that visual logic, often it lifts your other senses and awareness, which VR does and XR does a lot, and we have that hypersensory feeling when we're in experiences. So I'll just play you this. So I hope, that video would sort of like give you a little teaser, kind of an idea of kind of the feeling of what binaural sound is doing and how it's kind of immersively moving you around in the space. So just a little bit about us quickly before we go into the subject matter of the keynote and also about binaural sound and spatial audio. I've been sort of working in the industry, sort of 15 years across many different areas, TV, film, commercials, as well as, of course, what we're here to talk about today, XR, virtual and augmented realities. But to note that, we are highly experienced in all these genres, we work across film and other areas as well, but we, have found that in that time as a creative industry, that sound has really benefited from a lot of the technological advances that have happened over the years, and especially with virtual reality and especially with extended reality and augmented reality, these technologies that we're going to talk about and touch on today have really helped push the industry and those industries into a much more interesting and exciting medium. So just to quickly cover what we do here, we do feature film production, we produce movies as well as do the sound for them. We do immersive XR production, virtual reality and augmented reality with future work. We're also supervising sound editors and sound creatives and audio directors. And of course, what we're talking about today, spatial sound supervision and audio creative. Also like to just mention very briefly that we're launching at the moment a multi-platform open-ended eco-social XR experience called Earth XR. Which I'll show you a little bit here, and this is going to be an open interactive virtual reality platform which is going to help show and curate experiences and parts of the planet. It'll be curated by leading scientists and natural world filmmakers, and there'll also be a cutting-edge social platform to allow users to become XR rangers, adding their own content onto the platform, which will hopefully, we believe, share and raise awareness on our fragile and beautiful planet. Just like to show you a little bit of that just there. So here's just a little snippet of some clients we've worked for. We've done work in spatial audio and virtual reality for Bose, augmented reality for Universal with virtual reality experiences, and for filmmakers as well with their movies and virtual, immersive experiences. So let's get to the subject in hand. How does and did we use the latest in immersive spatial audio to help us keep on delivering and collaborating with our clients during this recent pandemic lockdown? First though, what we're going to do is we're going to go slightly further back and just discuss exactly what immersive and spatial audio is, just so that you can understand and completely grasp how impactful it is. So what is immersive sound and spatial audio? Well, spatial audio is a way of creating sound in 360 degrees around a listener. So the sound can come from any place in a sphere. Real immersive sound provides the listener with a natural, lifelike three-dimensional sound experience, unlike anything heard before in traditional 2D surround solutions. Immersive audio creates a sensation of height all around the audience, transporting them into a more thrilling and deeper audio experience. So one of the examples, the key examples of that, is the use of binaural audio. Now, binaural audio has been around a long time, but this latest innovations within spatial audio and the use of it within virtual reality has really pushed it again to the forefront. And we use a phenomenon called HRTF, which is head-related transfer function, which is the audio you're hearing today. These experiences are through this keynote. And this is a phenomenon that describes how an ear receives sound from a sound source. So when sound is made, it travels through space in every direction in a sound wave, and this wave of sound expands outward from the sound source in every direction, like a rapidly expanding sphere, which we can sort of see more clearly here in this slide. If you note, the sound is coming from in front of the user, and that is in green. And then as those reflections go around the head, the sound becomes slightly less strong, but the frequencies are different, and these give different sounds. And our ears are often, our ears are the tools that naturally are used to kind of reinterpret those reflections of the sound waves around us. So when we combine these techniques together, the result is immersive 3D audio, which is an all-enveloping audio soundtrack that can be geolocated as sound objects, as we now call them, fixed in a virtual space around us, giving a far more real feeling to the immersive world we're experiencing, in this case in virtual reality. Think of it as every sound source, be it a car pass, a person speaking, a musician playing, as a digital object which has its own unique positional metadata connected to it. This object can be placed anywhere around you, the listener or the viewer, the participant, within the virtual world. Or to go a step further, it can be anywhere within the virtual landscape of this world. So this new audio format technology really enables us as spatial sound producers to create a far more immersive and convincing sound world and sound experience. So let's have a little listen to an example. So I probably thought that I was trying to think of the best thing to do just for audio. So I probably found this job here, which is a production called Consequences, Augmented Reality, which we mixed for Bose and Playlines last year. It's an interactive grime hip hop audio play, which was shown as part of Raindance Film Festival's Immersive Showcase last year. Consequences AR is described as punch-drunk theatre meets Pokemon Go, an immersive site-specific augmented reality rap experience, which was written and performed by an award-winning rapper called Harry Schotter. Part concept album, part silent disco, you choose your own adventure in this. So Consequences is a new kind of night out, combining live gig, rap narrative, and cutting-edge spatial audio. So the mix is a location-based with real-world immersive performances, which has multiple branching storylines, and there's actually 6 possible endings depending on where you would go in the environment, the real-world environment, which would be linked to the immersive augmented reality environment. To set the scene of this story, for this short clip I'm going to play you now, the consequence is showing how, if led down the wrong path, it can lead to bad and possibly fatal outcomes. We join you, the player, as you are confronted with having to make this decision by a friend who can often be seen as bad influence, as they offer you illegal substances in a nightclub. Depending on which way you head in this interactive experience will depend on what happens to you next. Let's have a listen.
Just back it, no need to worry, of course you can hack it. There you go, bruv, now let me drop mine. it's gonna be fine. I know you can handle your buzz, cause guess what? When we first came in the club and I bought you a drink, I didn't say, I'll slip you off, no need to pay. I did it to get you on your way. What a phrase for, bruv, you know it's all love, and you know I've looked out for you from day one. You're the one I put nobody out here above. Trust me, I won't steer you wrong. That girl weren't right for you and she's gone. I'm here, it's me and you till the end. Our friendship I'll always defend and have your back like you have mine. Tonight we're gonna have the wickedest time. You're coming up on that half I see. I only need you, you only need me. We're brothers, more like family. You get too stressed, you need to free your mind. Just chill and enjoy the vibe. When the next one kicks in, you'll be live. Can you hear that tune? I think shot set is coming on soon. By that time we'll be fully up on these. Oh, but I can't remember the room he's in. I'm coming up on the first half. Brother, this is such an art. Let's find the next room. Come follow me, walk my walk and follow my path.
So I'm hoping that as you listen to the spatial binaural mix there, it felt as if the characters were moving around you as they spoke to you. This is in fact the HRTF frequencies we were talking about before that give the feeling that they are right next to you and moving around you in the real audio virtual 3D space. So now we look briefly at what spatial and immersive audio is. Let's now look further into the challenges that we had of working in the immersive audio space during the COVID-19 pandemic, and how we managed to continue our work in lockdown and collaborate remotely and apart with all our clients and colleagues. So I thought the best way to show you this was to break down a recent immersive XR production we've been producing and directing, the spatial audio on, and discuss the challenges of how we went about this. So the challenge was to create an immersive audio training tool featuring a tailor-made spatial 3D audio soundtrack of a protest and riot set in a fictitious timeline during the lockdown period of 2020. So as you can kind of see from that opening challenge, by no means this was an easy task when we were expected to deliver a 3D spatial audio mix, a separate binaural mix, and a Dolby Atmos premix, all remotely outside of the studios and all apart, maintaining social distancing rules and regulations. So let's start with a blank canvas, as I like to call it, from the beginning. As this was an XR/VR experience, the audio was so vital to the story and experience that it was decided the sound would be built before the visuals were put together. In this case, they were going to be done as motion capture. Now, interestingly enough, most of the time we do work in the visuals are there first. They've already been done and they've been made. And so even though we like to make sure the sound tries to lead where it can, and we like to make sure the sound has an impact, often you are in some way slightly beholden to the prerequisites that come along with visuals, as they must guide in most cases how the sound is formed and put together. So in this case, we had an excellent script but had to sonify, if you like, how the scenes were to look and feel in our minds first, as we had no visuals, just good references to lead us in how the scenes should sound and feel. So having read the script, immediately we realized there was a problem. We had to build a custom-made riot of chanting people who were shouting specific lines tailored to the main protagonist in the story, and so made it impossible to simply take previously recorded crowd scenes or library sound effects and use those. So the crowd and ADR had to be re-recorded during lockdown somehow, and they had to be unique to this, so we couldn't use anything that was already done before. But as we all know, in this lockdown COVID-19 world, the suffering from a pandemic was on a scale we'd never seen before. And so as a result, we were unable to go to the studios or meet up in large groups, or simply, as we usually do, hire a group of actors and put them in the studio or put them in a space and get them to record and be a crowd of rioting, chanting people. Something that now, seemed quite easy to do, but obviously is quite tricky when everyone's apart. So it took time and we couldn't quite work out what to do, but we painstakingly decided that the best thing to do was do remote kits. And so we sent out custom-made mic and recording setups to over 25 people. And with these kits, our actors and voice artists were able to plug and play these kits, a laptop and a network connection, straight into a sound card, all of this pre-built, so they would just open up and turn on. And then they would be able to record and transmit via a secure connection with their scripted lines, the scripted lines, layer and edit everything together. So we then would take that sound that would come directly to us via the online connection, and then we were able to edit all the sounds together, and we were able to create the built-up soundtrack of the crowd. So that enabled us to basically create and blend all these things together, and then, you know, able to build up a riot crowd scene. So after we'd done that, we realized that we had all these elements together, but we weren't able to go back into the studio. We weren't able to take these sound sources, take this built up soundtrack and play it all back, you know, in our normal audio insulated, you know, audio acoustically treated environments. So we, again, we had to create 3 mixes: a static binaural mix, an immersive spatial 3D audio mix, and finally a Dolby Atmos version, which will be used later for streaming platforms. So in order to use that, we use several innovative techniques that we use daily, mixing in AR and VR, you know, which is obviously standard audio soundtrack stuff. But one of the key tools that was very helpful during this process was, believe it or not, as we talked about using before, the headphone. Now, headphones themselves, although don't seem initially that revelatory, it's not them themselves exactly, but it was these HRTF frequencies and these now HRIRs, the head-related impulse responses that the plugins we now have can use, that allowed us to replicate audio environments or audio rooms using impulse responses built into these programs. These are then panned, mixed, and spatialized using plugins such as the one featured here above, the Audio 360 from Facebook. You know, we can then geo-position any sound in the virtual 360 space around the listener to give that total feeling of immersion. As you can see in the picture shown here, these dots would represent audio objects, in this case musicians. Obviously I can't show you for the example for this because it was audio only at this stage, there were no visuals. But if you see here in this picture diagram here, you can see that each colored dot represents the musician on screen in the 360 video. We can then position those in the 360 space, so when we look at that particular musician more, or we look around the room, those sounds of those musicians playing would stay fixed in that space. Therefore, it gives us a much more realistic feeling of immersion. It makes us feel like we're in a real space, because like our normal head would do in the real world, as we turn, the audio would fix and stay in a space. In actual fact, stereo, as we sort of kind of touched on before, is in a way very unrealistic, because, you know, on headphones especially, when we turn our head, this is turning with us, and that's not what the real world does. So as we've mixed and created a spatial 3D mix now, as I've shown, for the VR experience and the binaural version of that non-VR delivery, we were also tasked with the mixing and delivering of a Dolby Atmos version, which will be used later for release on streaming platforms. But there was a bit of a problem. Normally, we would mix a production like that and master it in a studio of this kind of size, a theatre-sized cinema with a multitude of speakers all around the room and on the ceiling. As you can see from this diagram here shown on screen now, the coloured dots indicate speakers. Dolby Atmos studios have a large array of speakers and monitors set up and calibrated all around the theatre, giving a total and complete immersive sound. However, unfortunately, you know, this is what my WFH work from home studio currently looks like. As you can see, only 2 speakers and not quite as many seats, unfortunately, and also a little smaller on the setup. Now, fine to do stuff, but obviously can't mix in multiple speakers and multiple and a large environment. So what did we do? Well, we did some research and tested out that some of the latest technology in home cinema soundbars, which have object-based spatial audio technology in them, have in fact now are able to decode Dolby Atmos. So, for example, the one pictured here, the Sennheiser Ambio bar. Unfortunately, the dinosaur on the robot were not included in this soundbar, although I do like to think they did help to add some creative flair to the sound and audio. This meant that we were able to, with great tools, seamlessly play back and master and audition our Dolby Atmos mixes that would only normally have been able to have been done in an environment with lots of speakers and a much larger space. So we were able to export our mixes from the Dolby platform using the Dolby Atmos production suite, export our Atmos files, and then preview and playback these in Atmos native formats. As you can see here in this screen going above, we were able to mix and review the immersive mix in our audio systems, and then the soundbar was able to reproduce these mixes, as it was able to fire the sound using speakers located in it around the unit and on the side and above. So that it would fire sound to bounce off ceilings and walls, giving that feeling of speakers all around you, and in turn giving the feeling of Dolby Atmos in a theatre and all total immersive soundtrack. So just another example of the soundbar here. You can see it has speakers on the sides and on the top that would fire that sound over and around you, creating an immersive sound traveling all around. So in summary, spatial audio allows for a new era of total audio immersion. Remote client system setups allow for even the most compelling and compiled audio recordings to be realized. Mixing can be achieved in any location, even during lockdown, with new spatial binaural mixing techniques. A new hardware and software system in playback in even more high-end formats is available now. And immersive 3D and spatial audio is the future of all audio, music, and media playback, we believe. It's certainly becoming very common. Music is going to be in Dolby and in immersive formats now. So it's an exciting time to be working in sound. Thank you very much.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Not Adam. Guys, I have to publicly apologize to Scott because I misspelled his name 3-4 times. I don't know why, calling him Adam. And
we'll laugh about it one day. We'll laugh about it, Jean. Don't worry.
Please, please, I'm very sorry. And
that's okay. Don't worry.
The marshal of the city. So you have to be careful with him. And if you have any question for him, I think he will enjoy. Or you have the.
Yeah, absolutely. Get in touch. Feel free
exactly.
if you have any questions on spatial audio or sound or any kind of projects or anything you'd like to discuss. We're open to many ideas. We're very open to working and collaborating with anyone or all that kind of thing.
Yes, because most of people again don't really understand how important is the overall senses for VR to be fully immersive. So you just about display, but you have the sound. This is quite advanced, but the smell, you have the taste, everything virtualized, but the sound is more advanced.
Yes.
And so Scott is the guy you want to have in the team, a VR team, for your 360-degree audio. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
See you.